All right, so this is going to be my worst of the year list for 2022. I also have my best list on here. We'll start off with that. I like to start things positively, even though everybody says I hate everything, which is not true. um, so we'll get into that. But this worst list was really hard to put together, man. Like the worst list, like I saw a lot of bad stuff, and they were like fighting based on what spot they could be on. Like I was like, all right, like put this here. Some of them got taken off. Some of them got taken off the list and put honorable mention. Some of them were honorable mention and got taken off the list completely. It was a lot. It took a while to put together my worst list this year. I think like four of them were rants, and only like one of them is in the bottom three. So I got plenty of bitching to do. But let's get to the best, like I said. So first honorable mention: Werewolf by Night. Great horror elements, great costume design, and I like the characters. They could use a little bit more development. But I like the characters. Builds tension in a really great way. And when it finally does get to the werewolf, I loved it. Right, that werewolf was awesome. Like that moment when that werewolf, first kind of comes up. Even though the bloodstone turned him into a werewolf, it's very plot devicey. Right, it's kind of contrived, but when you do get the werewolf, it's awesome. Definitely the best thing that I saw in Phase 4. Phase 4 has been largely a disappointment. My last honorable mention for the best list, because I only got two, is the Batman. I didn't really like Robert Pattinson's version of Batman. It's a little bit too, not his performance, but it's a little bit too emo and things like that with the eyeliner. I didn't care for that. There's no real duality with the playboy and the billionaire playboy and the Batman. There's no real duality there for that. So I did have some issues here and there with the story and with the with this version of Batman, but I like the detective elements a lot. I like Paul Dano as the Riddler. The third act with like the henchmen from like you know radicalized people off the internet. I like that. I like that a lot. Batman had a really great dynamic with Jim Gordon, to where like they're kind of like a dynamic duo in and of themselves. I really like that. The movie looks beautiful. I believe it was shot on the volume. It looks great. Gotham has never looked this good in live action, and a lot of people were blown away by the movie, but I was not. That's why it's honorable mention. Still really good. So let's get to the list. So number 7 is Bullet Train. I only have 7 this year. I think I had 6 last year. Whatever. Bullet Train is number 7. It is really fun. I like Brad Pitt's character a lot, Ladybug, and him dealing with his bad luck and things like that. There's no logic at all in it, but and a lot of it is kind of convoluted, like some of the reveals. But I had a lot of fun with the characters and the story and things like that, and those reveals I thought were interesting. And the train is a character of itself. It's has a lot of style, almost like it's a comic book. And I really like that aspect of it too. It just, for me, it was just a really fun time with characters that I really liked. And so, it really resonated with me. So I was like, you know what? I almost gave it my highest rating when I saw it. But then I was like, yeah, some of these things are, yeah, maybe go down a little bit with the rating. So yeah, I still liked it a lot though. Number 6, Turning Red. I think there was a controversy around this because there's a controversy around everything. But coming of age story. This young girl having issues with her overbearing mother, and then it turns out that she is like that because of the way she was raised by the main character's grandmother. So I like that aspect of it. I like the characters, even though they're archetypes, especially the friends. But they were a lot of fun. The second act's a little bit too slow, but by the time we get to the third act and the climax and stuff like that, I thought that was really strong, the strongest part of the movie. The generic boy band was funny, but when we get to the end and they mix that song with the chant that they're doing, I couldn't help it. I was nodding along to it. It was catchy. So number 5 is Northman. For me, not Avatar. This movie is the best looking movie of the year. I mean, the cinematography is beautiful. They build the setting so well, even with the dream sequences and things like that, and the effects. It is beautiful, beautiful, a technical masterpiece. But man, wow, it's a little bit too long. It feels like it's artificially padded, but it does work, right? Like I really like Alexander Skarsgård in the movie and his character. Bit of a savage, right? He's dealing with fate and things like that, and I really like that aspect of it. I mean, the story is definitely reminiscent of like Hamlet or Lion King or whatever, right? But it does enough to set itself apart. Right, the main villain is underdeveloped, I'll be honest. But Nicole Kidman, she was really interesting by the end. I remember like, I was eating when I was watching because I didn't watch it in the theater, and it got to it got to a point where um, where somebody was strung up by their intestines, and I was like, okay, I'm done eating. I'm done. Number four is The Menu. Great movie up until the end. Up until the end, it has different themes and things that I really liked. Ralph Fiennes is great in it. The whole thing about the frustrations of the service industry. It's shot well. The food all looks delicious, and made me hungry. And I thought it had a really strong story that I didn't know where it was going, right? Which made it more exciting for me. It builds tension in a really good way too. But when it gets to the ending and it's like, oh, we're letting Anya Taylor Joy go because she ordered a cheeseburger. It's like, okay, that didn't really fully work for me. The ending for me felt weak. But up until then, I thought the movie was great. So number three is Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. You can poke holes in the story. The side characters aren't that great, the other characters, but Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal and their characters are great. They have such great chemistry. When they're high and they're like trying to climb a wall or something like that, or or running away from random people on a bench, I thought that was really funny. And it just it works mainly because their performances really elevates the material. Because that ending was contrived as fuck, but but it works, man. Like the funny moments were hilarious, and then the emotional moments, like some of them almost brought me to tears. They were really well done. So I think this is the first movie I gave my highest rating to this year, and it deserves it, at least for me. Number two is Top Gun Maverick. I really got invested in the mission. The mission I think is great. It really feels impossible. It feels like a suicide mission. um, and it really gets you excited. Like, wow, how the fuck are they gonna pull this off? And I thought it was done like perfectly, just about like at least like the exact the mission. I like the characters. The characters could have done with more development, but I like the characters and their banter back and forth was fun. I just had a great time with it, and I think most people did too. After like COVID and all the other theater was closed and stuff like that. I think this is the first movie that really resonated with audiences again. So it kind of has that going for it. And I hate forced sequels, especially years later. So for it to impress me that much, for me to just walk out like, wow, that really means something. So number one is Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's my best of the year. It's been the best of the year since I saw it. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it afterward, but so creative. I mean, it puts Doctor Strange 2 to shame when it comes to the multiverse stuff. With the universe where they have long fingers and their rocks at certain points and things like that. The sci-fi elements, even though it's a bit convoluted, of them using multiverse abilities in their universe. That was really fun, and not just the action, the kung fu and things like that, but also the emotional moments almost brought me to tears. Like with her and her husband and her and her daughter and things like that. I just thought it was just amazing, right? Like fantastic. All right, so that's my best list. Let's get to the worst. I have two honorable mentions again for this list. So the first honorable mention will be, or dishonorable, is Texas Chainsaw 2022. That was on Netflix. Completely unlikable characters. Didn't care for any of them. One of them has a backstory about surviving a school shooting. It's really just there so she can, really to give her a backstory, but whatever. And so that she can use the gun later on to fight Leatherface. Leatherface is invincible, can do anything, can teleport, all these other things, so it doesn't matter. So I didn't care for this movie at all. Leatherface is living with his old lady for some reason now, and she dies, and she seems like she's gonna die anyway. But he blames the people. It feels like he was just looking for a reason to kill people. I mean, that's what it seems like to me, right? And man, I hated these characters so much. When they were on the bus, and instead of going crazy when he first gets on the bus with them, they're recording him, and one of them's like, "Do anything, you'll get canceled, bro." I get that you're trying to be funny. Some people thought that was funny. I did not. I thought it was cringy. So you're trying too hard there. They blatantly aped from Halloween 2018 with like the survivor from the original movie coming back for revenge. It's not the same actress, a different actress, and she's terrible in this movie. It might have been the direction, I don't know, but she gives one of the worst performances of the year. Completely wooden, no emotion at all. The character's not interesting at all. They just involved that so that they can make people think of Laurie Strode and all that in the 2018 Halloween movie. It's not good at all. I spent the whole thing not caring. The kills are ridiculous, but they're kind of fun. So that's the reason why I didn't put it on the list. But it's awful. My next honorable mention, my last honorable mention, is Jurassic World Dominion. It's stupid as hell, right? Like, it's a dinosaur. Like, the dinosaurs all around the world, right? And I didn't like the way that you got there, but whatever, do something with it. They turn it into a generic action film with that stuff. But for the most part, the main stuff is giant locusts causing a famine. There's a villain that caused a famine, or potentially is causing a famine, with giant locusts, and they have to find some way to stop him. His motivation is it's not clear why he would go this far, do all this. I don't know. It's really stupid, but whatever. You get to see the original characters come back and their interactions from the original Jurassic Park. That's my favorite part of the movie, and I like their dynamic with each other. That's the reason why it's not on the list, because it was on the list originally. It was number 11, because I was going to have 11. Now it's only 10. This is an honorable mention, just because I like seeing them again. But the story is badly written. The clone girl, you thought that was already bad. Now they've retconned it. So now she's not a clone of the daughter, but now the daughter gave birth to her with no man, immaculate conception. She's Jesus, I guess. And so now they want to use her because the mom was able to cure her of something, or put some kind of cure in her before she gave birth to her, or something like that. It's dumb. It's dumb, and I didn't care. I just didn't care at this point. It's. I think it made money too, so we might see some more. So that's unfortunate, but whatever. At least these three movies are done. So anyway, that's the honorable mentions. Let's get to the list. We've gone on for long enough. Actually, not as long as I thought we were, though. But whatever. Let's get to it. Number 10 is Uncharted. It's a video game adaptation, so it has, it definitely has a good chance of being on worst lists. It's not Uncharted, right? It's not even as cinematic as the video game it's based on. The part where he flies out of the plane or whatever, I believe that was from the third game. Not nearly as cinematic, and the effects are terrible. But whatever. They put little things in here like that to be like the games, but really it just feels like a generic action movie script that they just action adventure script they just made into Uncharted. Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland are there because they're recognizable names, and they're nothing like the characters at all. They have really good chemistry though, so they might be able to do something, in the future that isn't Uncharted together that may be good. But yeah, what's written for them is not great. Their dialogue for the most part is exposition early on, and then after that it's like kind of badly written banter. But yeah, they're nothing like the characters at all. The fight choreography is embarrassing, right? It's really just people flailing, and that's it. I was like, okay, so you're not even really trying, right? None of these characters are all that interesting. The story is generic, and yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. As a fan of the Uncharted games, I was like, man, what a waste of everyone's fucking time, when you could have definitely made something better than this that was a little bit more inspired by the games, and not just something you're just throwing out there. So there you go. Shot poorly too. I didn't like the way it was shot at all. It looks cheap as fuck, and some of the depth of field in it. It might have just been my theater, but I said it in my video. The depth of field wasn't working for me. It was kind of hurting my eyes at certain points, the way it was shot. I didn't like that movie at all. So number 9 is Pinocchio 2022. Another Disney live action remake. These have been known to get on my worst list because they get on my fucking nerves. So this one, I tried with it. I was like, okay, maybe I can give this a rental. I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't do it. So what additions they make to the story, because it is the same story pretty much. What additions they make to the story is all like unnecessary nonsense, right? And it actually goes against like the moral and things like that, where his nose, he has to lie on purpose so his nose grows so they can get the key to get away. Okay, well, you just taught kids that lying is actually advantageous. That goes against the main moral of the story of Pinocchio, but whatever. I didn't like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, his voice with Jiminy Cricket. People were praising him. I thought it was terrible. Tom Hanks is, like, I guess systematically trying to destroy his career because he's awful in the movie too. There's new songs that don't work. The person that takes them to Pleasure Island gets a song and it's awful. Pleasure Island looked good, but it was definitely sanitized, for current day Disney. When it comes to them turning into donkeys and stuff like that, they're breaking clocks that they're allowed to break. Like they're vandalizing things, but it's stuff that it's there for them to vandalize. So they're not really doing anything all that crazy. They're eating candy and ice cream that they're given, right? So the Pinocchio early on gets kicked out of school, and it's like, well, now it's not that bad that he joined the circus. What else was he gonna do? It's like the idea was that his ass was supposed to go to school, and instead he went to the circus. But if he's not able to go to school and he's a fucking walking, talking puppet, why not go join the circus at that point? it's stupid. And they turned the whale into some weird monster with tentacles, and that didn't work. The CGI Pinocchio doesn't work in the live action at all. um, you didn't try at all with that. The cat is a CGI cat for no reason. That looks really awful. There's a bird that talks. Don't care. There's an added character that he has a kind of a friendship with. Don't do anything with it. By the time she comes back, towards the end, I, forgotten she was even there. And then in the end, they make it ambiguous of whether he turned into a human or not, and so there's no real ending to the story, which is like stupid. But they do show him kind of turning into a human, but from behind, because they knew they wouldn't be able to do that. They knew that would look awful with the with their CGI, so they just didn't even bother. That's so obviously why they did that. It's another bad, unnecessary, lame Disney live action remake. The No Strings on Me song has none of the same impact. Once again, it's another bad Disney live action remake. So number 8 is Fantastic Beasts: Secrets of Dumbledore. This plot is so stupid. They spend most of the movie, or most of the first act at least, not telling you what it is. I'm like, what are we trying to do? Right? They're stealing a deer, or whatever. Like, what's going on here? Right? I'm already not interested, but like, can you at least let me in on what's going on? And then it's like, oh no, we're clearing Grindelwald of his crimes so that he can run for wizard president, which I didn't even know was a thing. I know the minister of magic or whatever, but um, why is he like the president of all wizards or something? And he's trying to cause a genocide, and they know that. But we're gonna let the people decide. Meaning that because this is a Fantastic Beasts movie, really in name only, we're gonna have a deer selected. So the people aren't deciding; it's the deer. So it doesn't make sense within what you wrote, which is already stupid. It doesn't work. But Newt Scamander once again seems pointless in a story that's supposed to be focusing on him. um, Queenie is still with Grindelwald, even though Grindelwald wants to kill humans and she wants to be with a human, so she's gonna be with him so that she can be with him. It's stupid, and she can read minds too, but I guess she's not gonna read his mind to show that he's clearly not actually gonna do anything for her. That was stupid in the second movie. It's stupid here too. There's a character that I think it was what's it called? What's it called? Zoe Kravitz's character from the second movie, her brother or whatever, the one that really convoluted nonsense that got revealed in that movie, the brother or whatever. He acts like he's about to join Grindelwald, and then in the end, he's like, "No, I'm still with Dumbledore." Meaningless. Get that the fuck out of here. Nobody cared. Nobody cares. They didn't do anything with that story, so why do I care? There's a whole sequence of having to save Newt's brother, where they have to dance around with lobsters or whatever. That's just so that we can have some Fantastic Beast something going on. The plot is terrible, man. As soon as he gets chosen by the deer, because the deer is supposed to be choosing people pure of heart, so you believe that it shows someone who wants to cause like mass genocide of Muggles. Like, you cleared someone of crimes, murder, all these other things, so that they can run when they have to be selected for having pure heart. And then when he does get selected, you just go along with it. That's so stupid. It's so dumb. You spend most of it like, what is the plan? What are you trying to do? And when you finally get more of it, and then obviously when we get to the end and stuff like that, it's just stupid. I did like Dumbledore and Grindelwald's interactions in the movie, but it's not enough. And I did like some of the magic and the action and stuff. But for the most part, like the story is just written badly, bro. I don't know what J.K. Rowling is doing, man. I really don't know. Like, she's more focused on getting on in fights with people on Twitter or whatever than actually writing that fucking screenplay. Like, honestly, man. And she had some help with this one too, so it was probably gonna be even worse. Anyway, number 7 is Scream 2022. I've hated this movie since it first came out, and I did a rant on it. So it's forced. It's derivative of the original movie. They reenact the same scenes too, by the way, like the same scenes, and they end up in the same house in the end. It's like, oh, isn't this derivative? It's like, yeah, but I guess because you pointed out, it makes it okay. And for a lot of people, it was because people liked it. I couldn't believe that. So yeah, the characters are one dimensional and don't really do much, but talk about sequels and requels and shit like that. Go on monologues about that shit with no subtlety, to the point where it's off-putting and cringy, which was really getting on my fucking nerves. What's it called? Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox, they come back. Those characters come back, but they barely do anything. David Arquette did more. The reveal is obvious of who's the two people that are actually doing it. the best friend character, the boyfriend, especially the best friend. That was really obvious to me. But that doesn't make sense because there's a point where it's clearly supposed to be her that's Ghostface at that point, and the girl is like really short and small. It's like that couldn't be her. That's clearly like some stuntman or whatever. It's like, okay, well then that doesn't make sense then. But I guess doesn't matter. The movie doesn't make sense just at all. Ghostface is teleporting at certain points. He's killing people in broad daylight in the neighborhood, and nobody saw. Didn't get caught on anybody's like front cameras or anything like that. It's like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Did he drive there first and then do it, or I don't know. So the characters get stabbed and you think they're dead, but they're not. Right? Jenna Ortega, she gets stabbed in the stomach, and then within days she's just sitting up still talking to them in the hospital. No, she should be dead. Like, what kind of surgery did she get? I don't know. Well, it's annoying. It's unnecessary. Yeah, it pokes fun at itself, but I don't care. And the kills are good, by the way, and I said that in my video, but in my review, but it's not good. I was fuming in that theater with all these monologues and things about requels and bringing up. I think they brought up Brian Johnson at one point and things like that about the radicalized fans. And by the end of it, they're really going for it with that whole radicalized fan thing, and I just didn't like it at all. So number 6 is Morbius. Morbius is kind of barely a movie. It kind of barely has a story going on, and like the performances are okay. And I think his name was Matt Smith. He was the villain. He had a little bit of like charisma, but the dialogue's awful. None of the characters are really developed. The story isn't developed. Main characters die and you don't care because you barely know them. There's nonsensical moments of somebody being able to sneak blood into a jail, I guess, just easily. Things like that. Him telling somebody that he's Venom for no reason, and then just letting that hang. I guess the person is just gonna call him Venom going forward. When they take over that lab or whatever, they were printing like fake money, and they take over that lab and turn it into like a science lab. I was like, what? There's so much stupid shit in this fucking thing. As a kid, Morbius was just able to like fix whatever machine that was hooked up to Milo, and they're like, "Oh, you got gifts, boy." Like, what? He was so the FX are bad. There's a bunch of pointless slow mo, like it's a fucking Zack Snyder film or whatever. Just to make the action seem more cool. Some of the action is all right, but like they clearly knew that it wasn't really wowing anybody. So hey, let's throw in some slow mo. Nah, don't do that. That actually made the fights more lame. The end credit scene with Michael Keaton Vulture coming in. You're clearly just trying to force the Sinister Six again in a way that's really stupid. Yeah, Morbius is trash. Morbius is trash. It really is. Like it deserves all the hate that it's gotten. Number 6. No, not number 6. This is number 5. Yeah. Number 5 is Black Adam. I have a rant on this that did actually pretty well, or at least for my channel. Now, The Rock is just kind of, tough guying his way through it. And there's barely a story. They kind of have one, with the whole thing with the king from back then and the crown. It doesn't matter. It's The Rock as a superhero, an invincible superhero, fighting against other heroes, right? That's how you show just how badass he is. Not only is he just mowing through mercenaries, but he's really showing up these other superheroes as well. It's like, okay, well, whatever. And that's it. It's just, endless action, right? I said in my video, it feels like somebody just playing with toys, playing with action figures, right? And what story is there? It's like, I guess we kind of have a story so that we can justify it happening. Definitely felt like Zack Snyder, slow-mo once again. And the little kid was really annoying with the catchphrases and shit like that. Very reminiscent of Terminator 2, but bad. That kid had really bad ADR. There's a point where he has to rouse the people to fight some skeletons. That was lame. The villain turns into a demon. A villain that you barely did anything with turns into some ugly video game demon for no reason. And it's just, it's an ugly film. It's badly written. It's underwritten. It's barely written. And it made me angry. Like, it really did. I was like, man, I want to leave so fucking bad. You're not really doing anything with this. The Rock, when he turns back into his regular form, and it's just his big-ass head on a regular person's body, skinnier person's body, that was embarrassing. The movie's embarrassing. I didn't really care for any of the characters but Hawkman and Dr. Fate, and that's it. They have some moments together that work. But for the most part, it's just kind of there. I was like, well, you took this long to make this? It's like, this is lower than Morbius. I think this is worse than Morbius. Morbius barely has a story and things like that, barely has any development, but this is like nothing, right? Like, what do you get from watching this movie that you couldn't just watching a YouTube video of Black Adam just fighting them for like, I don't know, a couple minutes. I mean, that's almost the entire movie. Them just destroying the fucking city, hitting each other into buildings and shit, right? Like the end of Man of Steel or any of these other things. It's very reminiscent of Zack Snyder. And you're the protector of this place, but you are causing quite a bit of destruction. I mean, I'm just saying. So there's that. So number 4 is Halloween Ends. If you're gonna do a new Michael Myers or whatever, somebody who takes on the mask or whatever, you do it better than this for one. But you wait till after this trilogy and you do a spinoff. You don't do it in the 3rd movie of a trilogy with a character we've never heard of before. The beginning part of it is kind of it's a little shocking, right? Maybe not terrifying, but a little shocking when the kid dies. But then you have this character just going through getting bullied by fucking high school kids, which is fucking ridiculous. All the characters are unlikable to a ridiculous degree in a really forced way, so that you can be like, yeah, when they die. Well, it's like, well, then that takes away the scary elements from it, though. Even though the kills are good, it's like, well, I don't care because these characters are assholes for no reason. like blatant assholes, like that dude at the studio or whatever. He didn't need to be treating them like that. He did that so that we can feel good about him dying. It's trash. Anyway, the kid, I forgot his fucking name, but what is pretty much the main character. He goes down into the sewer or whatever. I guess Michael's been there this whole time. What has he been feeding off of? I guess he's been killing people every now and then to keep his strength or whatever, but his strength is still, waning or whatever. Whatever. He spares him because I guess he sees serial killer in him, or he infects him with serial killer. So then they start killing people together, tag teaming. I was like, what? If you're gonna have this dude be the new Michael Myers, just have him be the new Michael Myers. But then, he manhandles him and takes his mask away. It's like, what the fuck? Like, this is the slasher villain of your series, and you're just bitching him out like this, and not even really giving us a good explanation of how it's happening. But whatever, he gets the mask, he goes on a killing spree. Him and Laurie's granddaughter are in a forced relationship where this guy's clearly antisocial. He's got a lot going on, but she is all over it. But apparently she has bad taste because she was with that like sleazy police officer too, apparently. He wasn't just harassing her. Apparently they did date at some point. It was like, okay, whatever. And she's like ready to do it all with him. Inviting him to parties, knowing the city, the town just does not fuck with him. So of course it's going to cause problems, things like that. I mean, willing to go against Laurie for this guy. I mean, this guy's clearly disturbed, right? He tells her, I just killed someone. And then they just keep moving, right? And she's still into him. Let's go riding. It's like, oh, fuck you, man. Oh, it's so bad. But at least at the end, you get to see Laurie take on Michael. But then again, that's also not that great because he's invincible until he's not. Like in the second movie, which is also terrible, they shot him, hit him with bats and things like that. He's perfectly fine, right? But now Laurie can just kill him. Laurie and her granddaughter can just kill him. There's no explanation of why that kills him. I don't know. And then also the main guy, like he seemed like, because he got the powers or whatever from Michael Myers, he seemed like he was immortal. But then he wasn't. Like, he got shot and he was all right, but then he gets choked out by Michael. I guess he can only die from Michael. I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's stupid. I was at the point where this grown man, this 20-something-year-old man, is getting bullied, Stephen King style, by high school kids. I was like, okay. So number 3 is Medea Homecoming. It's kind of a tradition at this point. If Tyler Perry puts something out, it's going to get a bad review from me, and it's probably going to get on my worst list. So in this movie, a character is graduating from college, and he wants to come out to his family, and that's it. There's a little drama shit. His friend, I think his name was Davi. I'm surprised you even remember that. He's potentially gonna have to go back home to his farm, and he's been fucking his best friend's mom behind his back for years, and he's just now being revealed. And it's like, wow, that's a hell of a betrayal. But apparently all you needed was pretty much overnight and a speech to get over it. He's like, at least, it's so unrealistic. He's like, at least the 2 most important people in my life, or at least I was able to bring them together. I was like, fuck you. Nobody would ever do that. Like, it's such a betrayal. That friendship is over. I mean, obviously that's your mom, so you'd be upset, but you'd get over it eventually. But that friendship, whether they're married or not, that friendship would be done. You would not be cool with that dude no more. But yeah, whatever. The movie's shot cheap. It looks really cheap. It looks like a set. Doesn't look like a movie at all. There's transitions with like basketballs and other things like that that you would never put in a movie. It is like insanely lazy in its filmmaking, which you can expect from Tyler Perry. And there's some political commentary in there. Some of it's kind of funny, most of it's not. It's just, it was obnoxious. It mainly got my lowest rating, and it's on this list because of the scene where he has to like come out about being gay to his family, and everybody just keeps talking and talking and talking. There's another character that's a man in drag, that's doing essentially doing the same thing as Medea. He's like from another like the actual like comedian, I guess. He does this just like Tyler Perry, but in another country. So he's in this, playing the grandmother of, I think, Davi. I think his name was Davi. I could be wrong about that. The best friend character that's sleeping with the main character's mom. And the whole conflict, it feels forced, right? Everybody thinks she says the N word when she says your knickers are in a bunch. It's like, all right, and it's pandemonium. The character keeps getting high and then saying stupid shit. It was never funny to me. And and the whole thing where it's like, you got to come back to the farm. I was like, look at this guy. Does he really think he's going back to a fucking farm? Like, it just feels so forced into the narrative. When those characters show up, it's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it's like, it doesn't feel like it fits at all. They also have some issues with the father character that's, sleeping with the lawyer of the mom from when they got their divorce. It doesn't fucking matter, right? There's barely a fucking story in this thing. It's just needless, like, stupid drama, and some I may have laughed maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the whole movie. Number 2 is Beast. This was a rant. This movie should not have been in the theater. I should not have been sitting in a theater and watching this. Right? There's barely any development of the characters. They talk about the mom, but you never actually get to really see her. Oh, actually do in like a vision, because there's a lot of dream sequences, Inception style, where like it goes from one dream to another, and he's seeing like African women. At a certain point, he sees his wife. Doesn't matter. Idris Elba is good in the movie. Everybody else is terrible. Sharlto Copley is terrible. He either seems like he's ad-libbing or he just learned his lines and he needs to try to remember them all, like in the scene. It's really bad. He's really bad. But the kids are bad too, right? Not just the performances. It feels like they just can't really emote all that well. They're not really that great with their line delivery, but their characters are also annoying too. They constantly do the thing that they shouldn't have been doing. I think at one point he said, "Don't drink all the water," and they did. They keep wandering off and things like that. The lion looks good for the most part, but sometimes the CG doesn't work. But either way, there's some good stuff with the lion here and there, but they keep kicking the lion. The lion is a super lion where they put the tranquilizer dart in the lion. The lion's still perfectly fine. The lion like survives an explosion and is still able to go after them after that. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. There's pointless drama about you left our mom or whatever, and when she died, I was like, okay, I don't care. It's just there's not much to it other than Idris Elba. It's like, hey, Idris Elba's gonna fight a lion, and when you get to the fight with the lion, it is insultingly terrible. I mean, at least make it somewhat believable. He's fighting hand to hand. Well, he has a knife, but for the most part, hand to hand with a fucking lion. Yeah, he just got in an explosion, but I don't give a damn. Right? He's getting scratched up and everything, and he's just getting kind of scratches, not gashes or anything like that. He ends up in the hospital afterward, but he should have been mauled to death within seconds. Right? He really is like, come on out here, motherfucker. He's a doctor. He's not like a badass or anything like that. Just a doctor with a knife. And somehow he's able to fight with the lion, at least for a little while. And I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. He should be dead. So that movie fucking sucks. It was pissing me off, man. But by the end of it, I just couldn't help but laugh. I was like, really? You want me to go along with this shit? Hell no. I mean, not much happens in that movie and it's bad, but whatever. Anyway, that was my number 2. So now we are number 1. And yeah, I called this when it first came out. My worst of the year, my worst movie of the year is Moonfall. So Moonfall doesn't even feel like a real movie. I saw another critic say that it feels like a fake movie, like it would be almost like one of the fake movies in Entourage, like where it's like supposed to be a joke. It does. It's so fucking stupid. It is brain dead. There are 2 separate movies going on. One in space with this entity that's attacking, and the moon is fucking up. And then there's a disaster movie because it's Roland Emmerich. There's a disaster movie going on Earth, where meteors and everything, gravity is being affected. At points they can't breathe. And nobody is really reacting. Like, First of all, the effects are terrible. It gets flooded at one point. The water effects don't look good. The green screen looks bad pretty much throughout all the movie on Earth. But whatever. Patrick Wilson's family is there with Michael Pena's stepdad or whatever, and they're trying to get away, or they're trying to at least stay safe. You know, they're dealing with poachers and things like that. You don't care, but there's like a meteor or something comes down and hits near them. They look up at it and they just start talking again. There's points where characters are about to die in a flood, and they just kind of look over at it. You know, they're driving and the Earth is splitting. I don't know how the Earth even gets to an inhabitable state after what's going on in this, but whatever. It splits and there's like molten lava underneath them, and they're just driving. Right? Like there's a little bit from Michael Pena, like oh no, but they don't really react like they should be reacting, which was a big thing in the movie. The conspiracy theorist character, ridiculous, but he got the most development. I was okay with him for the most part. He's probably like around 30 something, and he has a mother that's in an old folks home with Alzheimer's or something. It's like, okay, that isn't mathing unless she adopted him, I guess, but whatever. He has IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And you're like, okay, so he's gonna shit himself at some point, right? No. He's about to go up into space, and he makes a big deal to be like, hey, I have IBS, whatever. They get up in space, and he's taking pictures. It's like, is nobody taking this fucking seriously? It's fucking stupid. There's little subplots that don't matter. The worst performance of the year, hands down, is Halle Berry's character, her husband character. This is no lie. This is how he gives his lines. He's serious with everything. Overly serious. Overacting. What's going on? He's on the phone. I'll come get you. I'm gonna come and get you. That's how he's talking. Like legit, he's terrible.
Who said anything about nukes?
You are making a big mistake here. Please let me put together a plan.
We have a plan. Look, why don't you and Jimmy come with me to Colorado? You'll be safe there.
What are you asking me to do? Quit? Give up?
I'm asking you to think about our son.
I mean, he's terrible. The son of Patrick Wilson is terrible. I mean, it is an embarrassing movie. Like really. It gets to the end, and it's been stupid up to that point, right? Like they get a shuttle from out of a museum, and they just use it to go out into space. I don't think that's possible, but whatever. It gets to the ending, and you get the reveal, right? The conspiracy theorist was right, as they often are in these kinds of movies, and the moon is a superstructure. And it was made by some humans, like I guess a long time ago, so that they can take care of this entity that only attacks, because they made an AI and the AI went crazy or whatever, that it only attacks if a human is around technology. Doesn't attack a human by itself or just technology. They have to be together. It's like, okay, this is really kind of contrived, but all right. Kind of contrived and ridiculous, but all right. But that is just, like when that happens, I was like, what the fuck? That's what all this is? I was like, who fucking wrote this shit? I mean, it's already ridiculous. The moon is peeking over the earth like it's a legit like movie villain, like the moon. Like what is this? It almost doesn't feel real. Like you expect the camera to, like the shot to change, and it's somebody watching it on a TV and going, wow, movies these days, or something like that. It's just that embarrassingly dumb. Like it is the whole time. Like, I could not believe what I was watching. I'm not even upset, because I did laugh along with it, but man, that shit was awful. Easily the worst script that I've seen here. Easily the worst performance from that guy. Sorry, brother, but you need some acting lessons or something, or maybe pick something else to do. But yeah, it was ridiculous, man. I mean, it is on a whole nother level of nonsense. So anyway, that's Moonfall. That is my worst of the year. That is 2022. I will be working on my best moments, my best review moments video, so that'll be coming up pretty soon, probably next week. But anyway, yeah, that's 2022. So yeah, I sat through a lot of bullshit, but there was some good stuff too. There was quite a bit of things that really impressed me. But that's it. Subscribe, and we're done.